Good afternoon and welcome again to the Stump Show with a recap of play at the end of day four of the fourth Test match in the Border Gavaskar Trophy being played at Melbourne. Australia ends the day on an improbable 228 for 9, which gives them a lead of 333 runs and puts the game heading into its fifth day absolutely in balance. There was a point in the second session uh, today when it looked like India would steamroller Australia. And again, all credit to Bumrah, who in the space of about 12 deliveries took 3 wickets for 4 runs. But partly because the Indian bowlers seemed to run out of steam in the final session, and partly because the Australian tailenders played sticky cricket, the game is once again in balance, and that's absolutely fitting for what has been one of the most topsy-turvy test matches in recent memory. If you remember on day two, it looked like India was completely out of the game. By the end of day three, particularly thanks to Nitish Kumar Reddy's century and the partnership with Washington Sundar, India looked to have come back a little bit. Australia still seemed to be the dominant team with India's chances somewhere below the 50% mark. This afternoon, by the end of the second session, it looked very much like India would cruise to a comfortable victory, that they would be chasing somewhere around 225 to 250 across an entire session, and then all is played tomorrow. But then again, first Labuschagne and Pat Cummins, then Pat Cummins with the tail very briefly, and finally Nathan Lyon and Scotty Bolland playing out between them something like 15, 20 overs has changed the complexion of the game all over again. Harish Kotian already has a question. Who has the better chance of winning this test? Is 300 plus too tough to chase down on the final day? You know, we chased down, it wasn't entirely on the final day, but India did chase down 329 for 7 at the Gabba in the 2020-21 series, if you recall. Can it be done? Yes. Is it tough? Very tough. Um, remember, i- it's not just the runs that matter. Firstly, I think Australia will bat again tomorrow morning. They'll try to use up a few more overs, and the strategy behind that is think of try and put yourself in the dressing room of a team that has to chase 300 plus runs. Let's say 330. It's 320. I mean, the lead right now is 333. So say 340. And assume you have to chase 340 runs in 110 overs. There is a way you plan the chase. You will say something like, okay, I'm going to take the first 30 overs at a very calm pace, probably look to score about 3 runs an over. Um, and from there, we'll reassess the situation as the ball gets softer, and then we'll see what to do, depending on how many wickets are in hand or how many wickets we've lost. But what if you had to chase that same 340 in about 90 overs? Then you are like, you need to score at a faster tempo. That brings up more risk. It also allows the bowling side to set more aggressive fields and attack. Whereas if they had overs in hand, if the batting side has overs in hand, then the fielding side automatically takes a back step. Harish Kotian also asked, is the pitch doing a bit more than earlier? The ball seemed a lot more than the previous 3 days as per the Cricket 7 analysis. Will batting be tough on day 5? See, some of the things that we expect to happen haven't happened, largely because these are drop-in pitches. If we look at the history of MCG and say pitch will get bad for batting on day 4 and 5. That's not going to happen because these drop-in pitches are holding up far better than the previous kind of wickets. Um, the grass has gone brown, but it is still firm. So that is one. Two, uh, they panned over the pitch repeatedly, particularly in the first session. There is no sign of cracks at all, not once. There are some footmarks, there is some rough, but it's not pronounced rough. It's not the kind that becomes a minefield to bat on. The only things that are different about the pitch today are three things. One, occasionally the ball is not bouncing as much as you expect. It's not scooting through, but it's not bouncing over the stumps the way you would expect to certain lengths. Two, the occasional ball is stopping a little bit before coming on to the batsman, which can cause miscues. One such miscue, for instance, Nathan Lyon pushed it back down the wicket, and Siraj couldn't hold on in the final session. And the third thing is, if you saw Akashdeep's 2 overs right towards the end of the third session, there was reverse swing in that first over, which he bowled with a 79 over ball. That basically means that this grass has become rougher. It is abrading the ball more, which means that now one side is scruffed up, the other side the shine is maintained. You can get the ball to reverse, which makes the last 10, 15 overs with the old ball incredibly important for both sides tomorrow. Um, Aslam Hunani says India's bounce back is to be appreciated. Do they still stand a chance to win? Yeah, the bounce back is appreciated, particularly the bounce back of day three and the first two sessions of day four. And then I think India slackened its grip in the final session, and you don't really know whether India will have to pay a price for that. The one good thing that India has is that a draw also helps because India holds the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Um, a draw can retain its hold, which means that you also have to either draw or win in Sydney. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, I mean, both sides have to be appreciated. Each time you thought that one side was going down, they fought back. India fought back to the Nitish Reddy Washington Sundar partnership yesterday, which actually for some time put India in a position to win this test match. Australia has now fought back with the tailenders and the way they have batted, and that's given Australia now a chance to actually push for a win. So yeah, it's been a fabulous, fabulous test match. Tabby Lex says 332 is the highest ever successful chase at the MCG, and that was in 1928. Yes, but boss, the thing you need to look at is until about 3 years ago, all the pitches were conventional pitches, which are part of the playing surface itself. But now you're playing on drop-in pitches. They're not crumbling up the way the earlier pitches used to. So, as far as I'm concerned, past records don't really matter in terms of how this game can play out. That said, 333, which is the target right now, and you don't know how many more runs will be added by the last wicket pair tomorrow morning. 333 is a very, very tough chase. Um, India will need to play cautiously. They'll also have noticed that wickets can fall in a heap in these conditions, like happened to Australia in the second session. Um, for the sake of argument, if you say that India has to face has to chase down 340 in about 90 overs, the way the dressing room will think is probably let's play conservative cricket for the first 20 overs, maybe score at 2.5, 3 runs an over. That gives you about what 60 odd runs at the end of 20 overs. If you've lost no wickets or if you've only lost one wicket, you can reassess and then say, okay, time to push the envelope a little bit. Let's try for 4 and over for the next 20, 30 over phase, and so on. So you can play in phases and you can also use your batting resources accordingly. If you want to break the game open, for instance, you could send out a pinch hitter. All of these possibilities have now opened up, and it's going to really be a fascinating cat and mouse game tomorrow on the fifth day. Ashish Narsale says, do you think Australia is more hesitant to declare now? How long do you think they'll continue batting if they don't lose a wicket? You know what? I don't know what Cummins will do, but I think that once those quick wickets fell, Australia, which was looking at a particular, at that point, they were probably looking at having about 350 on the board in terms of the lead. and still having say half an hour, 45 minutes to bowl at the Indians. But when those wickets fell, those plans went out of the window. Australia recalibrated and said, okay, we're going to take time away from India. And that is when they started batting long. I think tomorrow, if all the scheduled overs are bowled, there is 96 overs left. I think Australia, if it can, will probably want to bat another 6 overs, take 6 overs out of the equation, or at least 4 overs, because 2 overs will be lost for the change of ends. That leaves 90 overs for India to chase down 335, 340 runs. That's a tough ask. So I think Australia is playing the last part of this day very smart in looking to deny India overs. Um, Whether India can still, bring its A game to the chase, we'll know tomorrow. Tabilek says, what happens to our bowlers when it comes to bowling to the likes of Land and Boland? Boss, this has been something that I think if you look at the archives on Rediff, this has been a question that has been asked from 1996 onwards. I've never figured out why a bowling lineup that performs brilliantly gets rid of the top order, gets rid of the middle order, suddenly start spreading the field when it comes to the tailenders. Uh, it's quite funny to watch in a sense. See, when Cummins was batting alongside Nathan Lyon, what they did was they spread the field out wide for Cummins, gave him singles, and looked to attack Nathan Lyon. Then what happens? Mitchell Stark gets out in between. Lyon teams up with Scott Boland, and suddenly they're spreading the field for Nathan Lyon, and they're looking to attack Boland. Towards the end of play, they weren't looking to attack either of the players. They just spread the field and said, okay, please make a mistake and get out. I haven't figured this out. I don't understand why bowlers think that they can't take tail end wickets when they've literally decimated top order batsmen. Aslam Hunani says, I just hope Rohit and Kohli click in the second innings. Your opinion, please. I don't have an opinion. Yeah, it would be nice if Rohit clicks. It would be even nicer, honestly, from the point of view of India's chances, if Rohit decides to drop himself down the order and lets Rahul and Yashasvi Jaiswal open the innings. The last thing that see, Jaiswal is a bit of a streaky starter in the sense that he'll try to push too hard early when the ball is moving around. Once he settles down, he's excellent. It's not going to help Jaiswal if his partner is very uncertain at the other end. And so, yeah, uh, I do hope both the senior pros show up tomorrow, particularly Rohit Sharma, because it's high time he delivered. Tabilex also asked, "Do you think Rohit underbowled Nitish Reddy?" No, I think Nitish is bowling in the mid 120s to late 120s and is pretty much up and down. Uh, in terms of underbowling, I think the people who were underbowled was Washington Sundar, who bowled just three. And in the final session, after Akashdeep never bowled at all until the very end when he got 2 overs, one with the old ball and one with the new ball. And within that, he created about two or three chances. Um, I thought, yeah, I thought Rohit just forgot about Akashdeep for a while over there. He kept going back to Bumrah. You can't expect Bumrah to bowl 3 over spells with 2 over breaks in between. That's just not fair to that bowler. Uh, in fact, if you remember in the last spell that he bowled, his eighth spell today, Rohit asked him for one more over, and audibly, what uh, Bumrah responded was, I've tried my best, it's not happening. And he walked off to the outfield. And what happens? Bumrah gets another over at the end of the day's play. In fact, the last over of the day, where all sorts of things happened. Two fours were hit, one catch was taken off a no ball. Yeah, very clearly, if you looked at that last over, you can see how tired Bumrah is. When have you last seen him actually bowl a full toss with the first ball of the over? This was a nice, juicy full toss outside off stump that Nathan Lyon hit through point for four. That shows you how tired the man is and how unfair uh, the captain is being to him. Ashish Narsale says, would it be more important to negotiate the new ball first before going all guns blazing? Ashish, I think, yeah, it is absolutely necessary to negotiate the new ball, and that you could say at the start of any innings, anytime in Australia. Both Stark and Cummins will, uh, be doing their very best. They know how much depends on a very incisive opening spell, and both of them are in peak form. You would expect a very challenging opening spell from those two bowlers. And don't, by the way, undercount Scotty Bolland, um, who loves this ground and performs very well every single time he's played over here. But um, I think, you know, you do need to negotiate the talking about all guns blazing. I don't think you really look at going all guns blazing till at least uh, the fourth hour of play. That would be after the first drinks break, after lunch. I think at that point is when you're reassessing and looking at the runs to be scored versus the number of wickets in hand and the resources in hand in terms of who can go and break the game open. Uh, I don't think you want to go all guns blazing in the morning or the first hour of the afternoon. Do I think Akash has disappointed in this test? This from Tabilex. No, boss. I think Akash has been incredibly unlucky in this test match. Three catches were dropped off him. He could have had Usman Khwaja early. He could have had Manas Labuschagne early. Uh, these are sitters. Both the catch against Khwaja and the catch against uh, Labuschagne went straight into and out of Yashasvi Jaiswal's hands, and that I mean, he bowled very well today. He was incisive. He was sharp. He had good pace. He made the ball kick. He did pretty much everything. I was reminded of what uh, Jasprit Bumrah told a couple of the anchors at close of play. I think at the end of day three, they asked him if he was bowling the best on this series that he's ever bowled in his life, and Bumrah said, "I've bowled better without getting wickets, and sometimes you bowl badly or bowl ordinary spells but still get wickets." I think Akash Deep will bowl a lot worse than this and get a lot more wickets. I thought he was very, very unlucky today. Um, Tabilex says, just for the record, India's highest run chases in Australia, 329 for 7 versus Australia, Brisbane, 2021, 233 for 6 versus Australia, Adelaide in 2003, and what? Yeah, we've done good chases before. I would have felt more comfortable if India had started the chase with an hour to go this evening, even though it does benefit the bowlers a little bit. Um, I was thinking of that classic chase in Bangalore, I think it was against England, where Virender Sehwag in the evening session broke the game open and gave India about 280 odd runs to chase on the final day. If we could have had, say, 290, 300 to chase in 96 overs tomorrow, I felt happier. But yeah, it's what it is. What advice would I give the Indian batters tomorrow, assuming that the Indian batters are the kind that listen to advice? Uh, Look, I mean, play the first 20, 25 overs well within yourselves. The focus is on just tap the ball around, get the singles, take advantage of loose deliveries if any come your way. And one thing to keep in mind is Mitchell Stark is very, very dangerous with the new ball, but he's also very expensive with the new ball. So scoring at 3.5 without taking chances should be possible. Uh, and if you haven't lost a wicket, then the pressure will shift to Australia. What happens if India scores about, let's say, 70 to 75 in the first 25 overs? Will be, and without losing a wicket or losing only one wicket, is Australia is aware of the depth in batting. It's aware of the fact that you have big hitting batsmen coming towards the back end of the innings. Once the runs start to come and wickets are not available, the pressure will shift to the fielding side. What they will do is they'll have to spread the field, try and stop the boundaries or the big hits, and that is when India will have its best chance. So for me, it is how you play the first 25 overs will pretty much determine how well you do on the stage tomorrow. Harish Kodian says Washington Sundar was preferred ahead of Ashwin, but he has hardly bowled in the second innings despite a Pacers struggling to bowl out the last pair. Yeah, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I thought uh, one of the stupidest moves that India made was just to keep going back to Bumrah, not trying anything else. It was like, okay, we've tried Siraj for a few overs, let's go back to Bumrah. We've tried Akash for a few overs, let's go back to Bumrah. At best, you would give the ball to Jadeja. Washington Sundar bowled 3 overs, I think, in this innings, and two of them were in the last half an hour of play when India was trying to rush through some overs and get the new ball to try and take the new ball. So I don't know. It's if you picked him as a batsman, then play him as a batsman. But if you picked him as an off spinner, it's a total waste of resources. It's a criminal waste of resources not to use him. Aslam Hunani says whose wicket will be vital for Australia to win? It's not whose wicket so much. I think what will be vital is for Australia to take one or two early wickets easily within the first 10, 12 overs. Then it has a good chance. Uh, as far as whose wicket is concerned, look, pretty much every single Indian batsman is capable of handling his end in a chase like this. So you take out, let's say, your number three, whoever's batting there, Virat Kohli comes in. You take out Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant comes in. And remember, the last big chase India won was powered by two things. One was a great uh, hand by the opener, Shubman Gill, and the other was Rishabh Pant holding the middle order together and taking India to that win. So you have Rishabh Pant coming in. If you get rid of Rishabh Pant, Nitish Kumar Reddy will likely come in. Then you have Ravindra Jadeja, you have Washington Sundar. So it's not like any one wicket is important. It's not like Australia where you're saying, if I can get rid of two between, say, Smith, Labuschagne, and Head, you have a good chance. Tabi Lexus, my friend Peter Lalor says in a column titled Tail Wags a Dog, Australia win back the advantage in a test match for the ages. Uh, firstly, boss, Gideon is a friend. Peter, I've spoken to a couple of times, but I don't know him well enough. I think, yes, if you if Peter was, I haven't read this piece yet, but if Peter is analyzing today's play, I think India had definitely had a huge advantage when Bumrah took out those 3 wickets following Siraj's wicket, took out 3 wickets in that incredible spell. Um, at that point, India was not just in the driver's seat. India was pushing for a win. I thought we kind of slackened our grip on the game, and Australia did get back. Did Australia get back all the advantage it had earlier lost? I don't think so. But Australia put itself back in a position of parity and probably narrowly edges India at this point. Um, Yogi Sinigia, thoughts on Jaiswal's drops? Did these drops take away the game from India? They were they were a major contributory factor. Yes, I mean think of uh, the Usman Khwaja drop was early in the innings. Uh, Manas Labuschagne, I think he was dropped when he was what 30s, late 30s, 36, 40, something like that. He went on to score 70. More importantly, he had that long partnership with Pat Cummins. All of that makes a difference to where we could have been as opposed to where we are. And Labuschagne was reprieved twice. Jadeja, just before lunch, I think it was, Jadeja got him pushing forward, and the ball, Jaiswal was standing at either a square silly point or a very, very fine extra cover. Um, Close catching in front of the bat on the offside, let me put it that way. Uh, that push, it came at a catchable height to Jaiswal and it went right through his hands. He didn't even get his hands around that ball. So that is three drops by Jaiswal today, one by Siraj. I think those drops did cost India. Look, I mean, Australia at this point in time is 333 runs ahead of the game. Uh, you didn't think that they would get to 275. That's how much of a difference all of this has made. Rajesh Alva says, what strategies will India go to secure a win or will they go for a draw? One of the nice things is that India is increasingly comfortable, or India has a history of good chases in recent times. This team is not as panicky facing a 300 plus total in the last innings as previous teams used to be. Uh, I think what they will do is draw on their history. They'll know to play fairly sensibly in the first hour, definitely against a new ball. Keep you don't come up with a master plan sitting in the dressing room. What you do is you take it hour by hour, session by session. Every stage you keep reevaluating the runs you have, the wickets you have in hand, all of that, the potential. Even weather conditions, for instance, is a cloud cover coming over the ground, is it blazing sunshine, everything can make a difference. So I think they will probably not go with a single strategy. I think they'll keep re-evaluating their strategy as they go along. If you look at the Australian innings today, for instance, they came out wanting to play conservatively in the first part. Post lunch, very clearly they wanted to see if they could take the attack to the opposition. You saw the way Steve Smith batted; he was just throwing his bat around at that point. Uh, he lost his wicket. They didn't change, but then they didn't get breathing space because immediately after that, Travis Head came and went for his second duck of the Test match. That blazing run of Travis Head's against India seems to have ended mercifully. Travis Head got out, Alex Carey got out, wickets tumbled in a heap, and suddenly they reassessed and said, "Okay, now we're going to play conservative again. We're just going to play out time and just keep adding runs as we can get it. We're not going to go hard at the bowling." So the same thing. I think they will uh, keep reassessing at every stage and keep fine tuning their game plan as they go along. Tabil X wants to know if I would rate this as the most exciting day in the series, the one where the game swung like a pendulum. I think for sheer drama, the most exciting day of the series was the first day at Perth. Not just that wickets fell in a heap, but it was just, I mean, a series is beginning. It's the first day of the first test match, and what happened was incredibly electric. India getting bowled out cheap, and you're sitting back and thinking, okay, we stuffed up. Um, Australia will come in bat big, and then Bumrah bowled. I, I mean, in my memory, the best opening spell that I've seen from a fast bowler ever. Uh, for the sheer quality of that spell and the impact it had on that game. So there was that. But I think if there are top three moments, this is definitely one of them. Probably number two. How should India approach the run chase? Harish just went into extreme detail about how I'd like to see them approach the run chase. But to your second question about whether you're batting out the new ball or batting positively, you don't bat out the new ball in the sense of hanging around waiting for it to get old or waiting for Cummins and Stark to end their first spell. I think it's more a case of you want to keep working the ball around. You want to keep ticking runs over. You don't want to go hard at the new ball because it will bounce, it will swing, it will seam, and it'll go both ways. That's for sure. You don't want to take too many chances and lose wickets in a heap. Uh, but yeah, I think basically just be a bit conservative for the first 15, 20 overs. See where you are, reassess, then decide how you want to take on the next phase of the chase. Tabilex, are you advocating a baseball approach for India's batting tomorrow? No. One major reason is assume the openers decide to go hard at the bowling and lose a wicket. The problem is you have at least two batsmen in the top order who are not in full form and who are not fully confident. You don't want them coming in a pressure situation and you know triggering a potential collapse. Uh, I'd far rather. The thing is, the longer you keep batting and the openers keep batting, for instance, the more comfort the dressing room feels, the more confident the remaining batsmen feel. I'd really want to see the openers, and I would want to see KL Rahul and Yashasvi Jaiswal back again in the opening slots, and I would want to see them bat. I'm not saying defensively, but at least conservatively in the first 10, 15, maybe even 20 overs. And then we can figure out whether, for instance, I mean, there are so many options. If for example, the opening batsmen go 20 odd overs without being separated and then slowly start accelerating, a wicket falls, let's say around the 25th over. And let's say the score at that point after 25 overs, it's fair to assume 80, 85, maybe even 90 runs. I would even love to see them send out somebody like a Jadeja or Nitish Kumar Reddy or Rishabh Pant with a very clear message. Go there, take a little bit of time to get your eye in, and then try and break the game open. Try and go hard at the bowling, hit the bowlers off their length. Even if you play a cameo, it'll really change the complexion of the game. It'll put Australia onto the back foot. You could do all of those things, but it depends on how well we play that opening passage of play. Ashish Narsale says, are you concerned about India's running between the wickets tomorrow? It had an impact on their first inning score, and how do you think they can address it? Look, I don't know. In schools cricket, they teach you how to run between wickets. All of these are basics. The hand you hold the bat in, uh, the hand should be in such a way that your body is facing the direction of the ball. So as you're turning, you can see where the ball is. That is one. Your calling is loud. If you're saying no, you don't do that by putting up a hand. You say no out loud and clear. Um, Remember the Mitchell Stark run out? There was no run there. Second run didn't exist except in Stark's imagination. But the point is, Stark called for the second run, and Cummins's no was so loud that you could have heard it all around the ground. Stark didn't listen. He kept running. That was his mistake. But you really need to be very loud and very clear. And particularly, you can imagine the noise tomorrow. Uh, you need to be loud and you need to be clear. That's the second part of it. And the rest of it is basics. If the ball is going square or going behind the batsman, it's a non-striker's call. If the ball is going in front of the batsman, it is the striker's call. The second run depends on who is going to the danger. All of these things. I mean, if we make these kind of elementary errors back in school when we were playing, um, our coach of the time, who used to be a former India great, S. Venkatraghavan, he was known for picking up a stump and whacking you on the backside with it. So, yeah, I mean, players need to get their basics right. Hari Nair says, if we lose 3 wickets in the first session tomorrow, should we still push for a win or should we then play for a draw? Firstly, Hari, playing for a draw can have different connotations. Playing for a draw, still striking the ball, taking the singles that are on offer, all of that is fine. If by playing for a draw you mean going ultra defensive, we lose more wickets. But if we lose 3 wickets in the first session tomorrow without significant runs on the board, and by significant I mean if you're chasing 340, 350, you want to be somewhere around 120, 125 in the first session. I don't think that's going to happen unless Jaiswal settles in and then breaks free. But if we do lose 3 wickets and we have only 70, 75 runs on the board, I think we're in big trouble. Um, Tabi Lake says, who would you blame for India losing the plot today? Rohit, Rohit, Rohit. Yeah. Because one of the things that was noticeable in the first 2 sessions was how proactive Virat Kohli was. For once, he wasn't standing all the time in the slips. He came out over to mid off, and after every ball, you saw him going up to the bowler, walking back with him, talking to him, giving him advice. He was changing the field while Rohit was stood there with hands on hips. Uh, he was geeing up the team. I think if India was electric with the ball and in the field, in the first and early in the second session. It was all down to what Virat Kohli did on the field. I don't know why he backed off in the final session, but in the final session, there was really no proactive approach uh, from the leadership front. They just let the game meander, and we could well pay a price for that. With Rohit Sharma out of form, will KL Rahul open the innings? Rajat, I mean, I just made that point earlier, but yes, I definitely want. I don't care what Rohit's form is or what the management thinks Rohit's form is at this point. Tomorrow, sometime in the morning, I want to see KL Rahul walking out with Yashasvi Jaiswal. Two reasons for that. One, Yashasvi Jaiswal is your opener. There's no question of Rohit and Rahul walking out to bat. Secondly, of the two, KL Rahul is technically the far more accomplished batsman. And if we keep repeatedly saying that you have to see off the threat of the new ball when you're facing a chase like this, fine, last day chase like this, KL Rahul is way better than Rohit when it comes to that blend of defense and stroke play. So yeah, Arnab Roy Chaudhary says, can Australia declare before the game starts tomorrow, or will they have to declare on field, leading to further waste of playing overs? Arnab, one, the rules allow you to declare. I mean, you could have walked into the dressing room this evening and just sent a message over to the uh, opposite team saying, you've declared, you can declare tomorrow morning before start of play. It doesn't matter. You just need to communicate that to the umpires and to the opposition. I don't think Australia will declare, and I don't think they see this as a waste of playing overs. I think they are squeezing India, or their way of looking at it is that they are squeezing India for time. I made the point at the start of this uh, broadcast. There's a fundamental difference between you chasing, say, 300, 350 in 110, 120 overs versus chasing 340 odd in 90 overs. You think differently. When you're coming out to chase 340, you are anticipating that there is equally the possibility of defeat. If you're chasing 340 in 120 overs, you're saying, you know what, even if we can't score runs in a hurry for the first 30, 40 overs, it doesn't matter. We just play calm, quiet cricket, just take a single here and there, and and tire out the bowlers and then uh, start, you know, the actual chase. You don't have that luxury when you have only 90, 92 overs in hand. So, yeah, the balance between how much you can play conservatively and how much you have to attack shifts significantly. It also allows the bowling side to set far more aggressive fields for far longer. If there are 120 overs and you take a few fours in the first 8, 10 overs, the field will spread. Against that, if it's 90 overs, they'll still hold on. They will still be catching men in close positions. How can India stabilize the batting order in the fifth test? Irrespective of what happens tomorrow, one thing they do is drop Rohit Sharma or ask him to drop himself since he's the captain. Uh, bring Shubman Gill back, put him at number 3, and move Nitish Reddy to either the number 5 or the number 6 slots. I think the rest of the batting sort of sorts itself out. So, yeah. Having said all this, I doubt that any of this will happen. Nitish might get moved up, it's possible. It'll take a man of very strong character to drop himself when he's the only person who can drop himself. And that's Rohit Sharma's plight right now. If you're putting the interest of the team first, and this is despite even if you get a 50 tomorrow and you know, you redeem yourself a little bit, the form is still long range. It's not too good, and I'd still like to see Rohit sit this one out. But like I said, it's going to take a very, very strong character to be able to do that because you're actually publicly admitting that you're not good enough at this point. And we seem to be kind of running out of. Oops, no. Spoke too soon. Universe. You haven't been around for some time. Universe says Bumrah led the first test to a one-sided victory, but after Rohit Sharma's return as captain, India has struggled from day one. Should Rohit consider stepping down as captain? There's been more than one factor to why India has struggled in from the second test onwards. In each test, there have been uh, quantifiable reasons for those struggles. Uh, a problem with Rohit, I would think that his captaincy has contributed to India's struggles in two ways. One, if you are not confident in your main job, which is to score runs in this case, your captaincy is going to be a bit uh, wishy-washy. Uh, Look, I mean, as a leader, you can't really go up to somebody else who's not performing and criticize them because you are not performing yourself. So, non-performance as a captain does have a bearing on how you lead the rest, uh, particularly prolonged non-performance, because no matter what you talk about or say about camaraderie in the dressing room and all of that, the fact is people in the dressing room are going to be looking at you and thinking, why are you even in this lineup? Uh, one or two failures, yes, people cluster around you and give you moral support and all of that, but not, his failures now span about 15 innings, 14 innings, I think, for 155 runs. Or if you take out one innings of 52, then it'll be 13 innings of 103 runs. That's just not good enough. Uh, what can be the bowling combination for the next test? Rajesh, let's get rid of this one first. Um, One of the things that the bowling combination will depend on is also fitness. Um, I would think that one of the things they have to think about is batting Nitish Reddy as a pure batsman with who then gives you the option of the odd overs, but you're not dependent on that. If that happens, if Nitish is batting at six, what you do get is the option of playing Bumrah at seven and then having four regular bowlers, whether it's going to be three bowlers or three quicks and one spinner or four quicks will pretty much depend on the SCG. And again, SCG has a history of breaking up. The pitch has a history of breaking up and taking turn and all of that. But I don't know what this year's pitch is going to be like, particularly in these years of drop-in pitches. Is very very difficult to look at history and say this is what is likely to happen. I don't know. Maximum change that could possibly happen is they could rest Siraj, despite his excellent performance in this Australian second innings, by the way, and bring in either Nitish Rana or Prasidh Krishna. If that change is being made, I would actually go for Prasidh as being more experienced and bringing a slightly different kind of bowling to the mix, because he's a tall, hit the deck hard, quick bowler, and um, he makes a change from our seam and swing bowlers that we have. Harish Kotian says, in all your years of watching or covering cricket, have you ever seen a better fast bowler than able to outperform the likes of Stark or Hazelwood in their own conditions? Um, yeah, Bumrah is a generational player. He's unique. He's one of a kind. Have I ever seen anybody of that quality? Yeah, I mean, I've seen Wasim Akram at his peak. Wakar Yunus. Um, I've seen Alan Donald. In fact, three, four South African fast bowlers from that period. Um, Among Australians, there would probably be early Bretley, who's excellent. The thing is, Bumrah cannot be kind of compared with any of these guys because the way he bowls, his biomechanics, everything is entirely different from anyone who's gone before. You could look at a swing bowler like Wasim Akram and say, yeah, but we've also had swing bowlers who've done very well. Um, even Pakistan has since produced excellent swing and seam bowlers. Uh, who do you compare Bumrah with? There isn't anybody. Why has he been able to outperform the likes of Stark and Hazelwood. I don't know if you were watching the match, but one of the things that really doesn't get talked about that much is Bumrah's biomechanics. Uh, Back when you had the back foot no ball, one of the things that fast bowlers used to do was drag their front foot well outside the bowling crease. You could do that because your back foot had to be anchored. What this does is it gives you a few more inches, or it reduces the length of the pitch by a few more inches. Bumrah is achieving that same effect by releasing the ball much later. Um, that's why I said look at some of the images that are being shown on screen about Bumrah's biomechanics. I've also actually done a little bit on that on my Substack blog today. Uh, what this late release means is, look, as a batsman, the way you pick length is you look at what point the release is. If it is a release at the top of your stretch, that basically means that you're looking for length. If you're releasing a bit later after the hand is past the face, you're looking to bang it in short. That's how you pretty much read lengths. The problem with Bumrah is that he releases much later than any other bowler that I've ever seen. And despite that, he can bowl the Yorker, he can bowl the good length ball, he can bowl the back of length ball, he can bowl the short ball, all of that with absolutely no change in action. And he is bowling from much further in front, which means less time for the batsman to read what is going to happen. One of the ways you can understand this is try blinking your eye. The blink of an eye is the time that a bowler who's operating around the high 130s, early 140s takes for the ball to go from release to pass the bat. That's the time you have. In that time, you have to make all these judgments about where is it going to pitch, what is it going to do after pitching, which side is the seam pointing, where do I have a gap to push the ball into. All of this has to be decided in that blink of an eye. And now what Bumrah is doing is he's even taking away that blink. It becomes, I mean, I don't know how batsmen actually score runs against him. Is it do or die for Rohit tomorrow? Rohit, the batsman, I mean. Yeah, well, assume that Rohit doesn't do well tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen, Hari? Uh, there's only one solution to this, right? Rohit, as captain, has to take the decision. Nobody else can. That's the problem when you have a captain who is not uh, an automatic selection. So, yeah, I mean, at least for his own sake, he needs to score some runs tomorrow. Does that mean a return to form? I don't think so. Remember that in the second test, uh, Virat Kohli scored a century, but it's not like immediately after that he started scoring runs by the ton. So one innings is not going to make a difference, but I do hope that he gets at least that one innings. And I hope that he makes the right call at the end of it. Harish Kotian says the dream combo of Nitish Reddy and Hardik Pandya in the ODI and T20 teams will make India such a dangerous team. Um, I think the ODI and T20 teams have strikers in plenty. You don't forget Surya Kumar Yadav, by the way. Uh, you also have others. Yeah, I think Harish could that Nitish Reddy will kind of find his way into the short form version of the game sooner than later. But for now, I think you just let him find his feet, play him if you want to, but just ease off on the pressure a little bit because you know where he is going to come in really handy is on the England tour. I did make the point earlier that he was not particularly fast, but he does swing the ball a little bit in the air, and England is meant for swing bowlers. You don't have to be particularly fast. Think of Venkatesh Prasad, for instance, bowled beautifully on that tour of England. Uh, he was bowling around, yeah, the high 128s, the early 130s, 130, 131. Nitish Reddy in England conditions could be an interesting option. And he also has the batting to handle those kind of conditions. So, yep. Says also how much of Hardik's injury-ridden career can serve as a lesson in managing Nitish Reddy? Oh, a lot. And it's not just Hardik's injury-ridden career. Though, to be fair, Hardik's injuries come mostly from his bowling style, which is very, very physical. He's kind of the Rafael Nadal of Indian cricket, I think. Very physical game, and that puts an enormous amount of pressure on his body. Even his bowling style, it really thumps that front leg down hard. So Nitish doesn't. He just runs through the crease. He doesn't put as much stress on his body. But basically, look, I mean, I think by now, particularly with all the data analysis, all the video analysis, all the biometric analysis that is increasingly happening, we have plenty of data to figure out how to manage players. And it's not just managing Nitish. Think of managing Bumrah, for instance. Um, yeah. So universe through with such a talented and experienced players in the Indian squad, do they really need a coach now? The role of the coach, it depends on what the role of the coach is. If the coach is going to come and tell me how to bat tomorrow, I don't need him. I think uh, it's not just the experienced players. I think even the Jaiswals, the Nitish Reddys, and all of that know how to do it. What you want the coach for is to get you thinking right in the dressing room. Uh, Say, for instance, tomorrow morning, you have Gautam Gambhir sitting there and saying, guys, you have the skill, you have the ability, do you have it all? Uh, just take it a small session at a time. Don't try to overthink the game and don't try to do too much too soon. Things like that, which you probably know at the back of your mind, but it helps for somebody to reinforce that thought. That's what you need during the matches. In between matches, it helps to have someone keep an eye on you as you're practicing, and you need somebody to whom you can say, in my previous innings, I wasn't very sure about, say, the cover drive. So I'm going to hit a few. Could you take a look and see where I'm going wrong, if I'm going wrong? And you need somebody to be there. That would be the head coach and the batting coach. Bowlers also need somebody to sort of talk them through certain things. So yeah, you do need. I think there's nothing wrong in having a coach. You do need one. Um, it depends on the kind of coach he is. I heard something yesterday after play in the commentary, or was it, I think, in the post match comments. Washington Sundar was asked what advice Gautam Gambhir had given, um, which led to that partnership between Nitish and Sundar. And Washington Sundar said, Gautam Gambhir told us to fight. You're international players playing a tough series against one of the best opponents you can have. Do you have to be told to fight? What were you going to do if Gautam Gambhir didn't tell you that? That's not what you want a coach for, though. To tell you just go out there, just fight. Come on. Naren says, has Rohit played his second last Test match of his Test career if he fails to perform, irrespective of the outcome of this Test match? Naren, I actually think so. I think that if Rohit doesn't, so significant signs of a return to form in tomorrow's innings, and also if he plays in Sydney, then in Sydney, I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny at the administrative end and also among the selectors and the coach before they pick a team for the England tour. The thing is, I also hope that Rohit goes out and gets some runs in the IPL. That doesn't determine the selections. Tavi Lex says, final thoughts for day five. Yeah, if we know that Australia is trying to take overs away from us, I think the absolute key is in the first over of the day's play, just get them out. Just get that last wicket. You can't bowl Bumrah because Bumrah has just bowled the last over of the day. So get an Akashdeep with the hard ball bounce, whoever it is. I forget who's, I think it'll be Nathan Lyon at the business end of the wicket. Bounce the heck out of whoever it is, get him out. You lose another 2 overs. So you're left with 93 overs, which is better than being left with 90 overs. Also, don't allow them to score runs in the morning. Bring the field in tight. Don't give singles. Just just focus on getting them out. And then once it comes your turn to bat, don't be in too much of a hurry. Try to break the game up into little sessions. Have a goal for each session. It could be an hour, it could be an actual session, or it could be a spell, a specific spell by a specific bowler. It doesn't matter. Uh, think it through and have absolute clarity on what you expect to achieve in each single session, and let sessions build one on top of the other. If you do that for 2, 3 small periods of play, the pressure will shift because you will gain in confidence. The other team will start panicking a little bit. That would be that. And I think that's a good enough note to end today's session. Back tomorrow for at close of not just a play, but of the fourth test match. Have a good afternoon or evening, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.